Hello and welcome everybody. Marcus Small here from thesmallman.com. I'm here to help you demystify the Excel VBA array. So what are these cowboys all about? Let's go and have a look in the back end of Excel. I'll show you how you create an array, how you reference that array in VBA, and then how you reference some cells. And we may just output some of that data into another place. All right, good stuff. So let's go and have a look at Excel VBA arrays. So press Alt F11 to go into the back end, and you should come into a folder that's got a blank module. If it doesn't, just go Insert Module. But if you're using my file, it's all good. I might just increase the size. So we'll just choose Options, General Docking Editor, 16 point. That'll make it easier to see. And then we'll create a subroutine and we'll call it AAR example, e.g. Yeah? And this will be our first one. Now, what we want to do first is we want to declare a variable. And we want to, I have a naming convention. I just call arrays AR. Yeah? So we'll dim, short for dimension, AR as a variant. Yeah? Now, it's important to declare your variables up front. Ironically, you don't have to. Yeah? Excel will by default give every variable, declared or undeclared, a tag as a variant. Yeah? It's only when you declare them that it actually creates it as a date or a long integer or an integer or a single, double, or all of the options that you could possibly have. Yeah? But let me be clear so there's no misunderstanding. It's best practice to declare your variables. Makes it easier for people that come along after you to read, understand, and really get into your code. Yeah? All right, so let's say that AR is equal to. Now, this is how you push data in. Now, I'm just going to hard code some information. We'll push it in, then we'll pull it out back into the spreadsheet. Yeah? So I'll show you how you can push it in and then pull it out. So we'll say it's equal to an array. And then we'll say that array is equal to A, comma, B, comma. Now the commas separate each element inside the array. So this will be the first element, second element, third element, comma, and then D. That'll do. So, and then I'll close my bracket. And now the interesting thing about an array is it will start at 0 if it's set up like this. Yeah. So when you're hard coding arrays into the back end of Excel, into VBA, the arrays will start at 0. So we can check the veracity of that. So we can go View Locals window, View Locals, and then this will show us the values inside of the array as we roll through it. So we'll press F8 to kick it off. Let me just start again. We'll press F8, F8. Now the rubber hits the road. You'll see the array's empty. We'll press F8. It gains some values, 0, 1, 2, 3. All right, now this is a one-dimensional array. It's just like, you know, an array and then a number starting at 0, yeah? So it is effectively not referencing any cells. If it was to reference cells, it would be a two-dimensional array, yeah? So we'll go out of that and we'll output the array back into Excel. Now, I'll keep it really, really simple to get the data from this array back into Excel. So we'll just hard code a range so we can see it coming out now. So we will say A1 to D1 is equal to AR. Okay, now that should output our particular code. Let me just minimize the screen. That's great. So we can actually see what's going on, yeah? So we can see over here, we should be able to see what's actually happening, yeah? So we'll press F8, oh, not F9, F8, 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 and the data should fly into those cells, A, B, C, and D, yeah? Now, if you want to make that a little bit more flexible, this one here, so it's, oh, well, we don't know how deep, the size of the array, so we can actually change how it outputs. Well, we can change it so it's actually flexible, yeah? So we'll start with A1, and we'll just resize that range, yeah? We'll say A1.resize, and then we want to resize it. Resize goes rows, comma, columns. We don't want to resize the rows, so we just go straight past that. But we do want to resize the columns. And then we want to say that they are equal to the upper bound of the array. So it's U bound, AR, yeah? Now that should do exactly the same thing. So maybe we'll just put it in column B, yeah? So, well, did I say B? I meant to say 2, yeah? A2, yeah? So we'll go in the next row, yeah? So we'll press F8, 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 and we should see the data flying into the second row. Now, you'll notice that it didn't fly in to A, B, C, and D. Why would that be? Why would it only go A, B, C? You're probably already saying, Marcus, you're an idiot. It's because the array starts at 0. And that is the answer, yeah? So we'll basically press F8, and then we'll try and increase it. So we'll say +1, yeah? And then we'll go F8, 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 and then this is where the rubber hits the road. We'll watch this range, F8, boom. Yes, that was the answer, yeah? So let me show you how you could get around that, yeah? There's a couple of ways. You could say up here, this is not my preferred method, but I'll show you anyway. It's always good to have the knowledge. It's called option base 1, yeah? So that means the array starts at 1. And then that means we can remove this, yeah? So if we say F8, F8, now we can check the array. Look, it starts at 1. And before I had option base 1, it started at 0, yeah? If we want to check the veracity of that, I'll just comment that out. And then we'll go F8, F8, F8. Let's have a look. 0, okay? All right, I said it wasn't my preferred method. This is my preferred method to get an array that's hard-coded in VBA to start at 1. So I'll just go square bracket, squiggly bracket at there, and then squiggly bracket, square bracket there, yeah? And then we'll go through the process again by pressing F8, and F8, and F8, and we can have a look at what it looks like. It should start at 1, and it does, yeah? So that's my preferred method. Then I don't have to use a line up there. It's just how I reference the array here, yeah? And then it should just output the information in the same format. We might just delete that to prove the concept, and then just go F9, F5, runs the code to that point, and then F8, yeah? And you see it pops straight in over there. Okay, all right, so that's how we put data into an array, and this is how we get data out of an array. Now, let's turn this array from a one-dimensional array into a two-dimensional array. So let's copy the procedure. Let's paste it below, and let's give it a new name. So we'll just call it 1. This has to be new, yeah? And then instead of that comma, we'll put a semicolon. And then so there's a difference between the width and the height, we'll put a semicolon here, and we'll just say E, comma, F. Yeah? All right, so we've added to it. I'll just make this a bit wider, so it doesn't matter whether you do that or not. It's just for aesthetics. Now, what we want to do is I'll comment this out, yeah, and then I'll show you the way that this looks and feels after we've run it, yeah? So this was one dimension, so we just had AR 1, 2, 3, 4. Now watch what happens with this. It will separate the data and put it on different lines. So the one-dimensional array now becomes a two-dimensional array. So the first dimension is A and B, the second is C and D, and the final one is E and F, yeah? Well, how would we go about getting that data out of the array? So let's pull that data out of the array. I'll just make this a little larger. So basically what we want to do is we want to say, well, we'll put it somewhere a little lower. So I might just say a 6 or something like that. And then what we want to do is we want to get the height and the width of the array, yeah? Now the way that we get the height and the width is we say we want the upper bound of the AR, and this time it's comma 1, yeah? Now that'll get us the length of the array. So how deep does it go downways, yeah? And then to get the width, it's u bound AR, 2, yeah? So that's the height and the width. Look at the array like columns, yeah? So, well, rows and columns. So I should have said rows and columns. That's the row part and that's the column part, yeah? So a lot of Excel formulas go row, column, cells, row, column, yeah? And this is another example, yeah? So we're going to resize it so the information is punched out by how deep it is and how wide it is. So it's got 3 rows, so it'll go AR 1, 2, 3, and then inside of each of those bounds are 2 columns, A, B, C and D, and E and F. But they're 3 distinct row categories, yeah? AR1, 2 and 3, and then inside of each of those arrays there's 2 columns worth of data. It's a bit like a spreadsheet inside memory, yeah? We're just storing the data inside memory. The advantage of doing it is Excel will move at light speed when it's doing things in memory. If it's actually got to go somewhere and do something, it actually performs less optimally. Pushing things into arrays helps Excel optimize the speed of the code. In some cases, it's not always the best way to do things, but if you can get your head wrapped around it, you give yourself that extra tool set in your VBA skill set, yeah? All right, so let's have a look at what this might look like. I'll just minimize this and we'll press F8, F8, and here's where the rubber hits the road. You can see the array is all good there. It's the same way as before, C, D at the end, E and F, all good. And then this should output in row 6, resizing the array, and there we go, A, B, C, D, E, and F, yeah? So that's effectively how we pull that information out of the array, and that's a 2D array, and that's explaining how it is rows and columns based, and this will get the upper end of the rows and the upper end of the columns, which is important when you want to output the information. So having said that, let's have a look at how we might pull the data out of an Excel range. Yeah? So let's have a look at this sheet here. So we'll basically, I'll play around with this small range. I'm only providing small information because it's easier to show you how it goes in and comes out, yeah, in this demonstration. All right, let's have a look. Okay, so basically let's create a new sub from scratch. Actually, let me take this down. All right, good stuff. All right, let's buy some real estate. Good stuff. Okay, so we'll say sub, and then we'll say var example, yeah. All right, good stuff. Now, what we want to do is we want to refer to a range. So we'll say dim_ar as a variant. Good job. And now, looking at our data set, we want to, well, let's just push the first, let's push these guys into an array, yeah? So we'll push from A2 to A6, and we'll just hard code it just for demonstration purposes. And we'll have a look at what it looks like. So what did I say? Square bracket, A2 to A6. Nice one. All right. All right, good stuff. Now, AR is equal to that range, yeah? All right, good stuff. So what we want to do now is we want to push that data out. So let's minimize this screen. Maybe I'll put it in A10. Okay, so I'll show you how to put it in vertically. So from A10 to A14. And then I'll show you how to do it horizontally. So vertical is easy. So we just say square bracket A10, and then we say dot resize. And this is, we constantly using the bounds of the array, yeah? Now, you don't have to use 1s and 2s if you just want to go vertically, yeah? So you just go u bound AR, yeah? And that will get us what we need. So it'll say, okay, we need 5 deep. And then we just say, well, that is equal to AR, yeah? All right, so let's have a look at what it looks like after we've run the code. So we'll run it and have a look in the locals window. So we'll go view, locals window, and then we'll run through the procedure. Okay, so let's start by pressing F8. F8, now the data is going to get pushed into the array, just the sales keys. Yeah, so we can have a look. We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you'll notice it's the same as the previous one that we did. It's a two-dimensional array with a row and a column bounds. So the 1 stands for the row and the 1 there stands for the column. Yeah, so the column's always going to be 1 because we've set the information to one singular column. Yeah, and the only thing that's changing is the row reference. So it's row, column, row, column, row, column, all the way down. Yeah, now what we're doing is we're just saying, okay, from A10 to A14, can you populate the data that's inside the array? Yeah, so we'll press F8 and there the data just pushes out into these cells. Yeah, oh yeah, but Marcus, how would we push them this way? So yes, you can turn an array, or transpose an array, that's the right term, I suppose. So let's just do that. So basically I might just put it into 16 and make this, might minimize this a little bit. Okay, we should be able to see everything that goes on here. Yeah, so we'll say square bracket A16 dot resize, and this time we'll want to be using the upper bounds of the array, and I effectively want to use the upper bound for the column. So I don't want to affect the row. I want to say comma, and I'll just maximize this, and I want to say ubound, and then I want to go AR, comma 2, yeah, and then I want that to be equal to, and now I've got to flick the array on its head. Yeah, so you'll get used to this term. It's application.transpose. Yeah, so we're transposing the array. Yeah, so we basically click onto the next row. I've spelt those two okay, which is all good. Now let's have a look at how that sort of flies into the cells. So what have I said? 16. So F8, 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 and then it should pop in down here, and it should go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, can we see what I did wrong? So basically over here, this is the column reference. Yeah, it's only one column wide. So I could have saved myself some trouble by saying 1 there, or I could just do that. Yeah. So either or, that should solve the bulk of the issue. Yeah. So we'll run through it again, and then punch, and then the data punches through. Yeah, didn't listen to my own advice. Yeah, this is the column reference. It's only one column. Yeah, so it was only going to produce one result. Yeah, so it had to be the row reference because it was 5 cells deep. Okay, so let's have some fun with the entire area here. So basically the current region. Yeah, so we'll go back into the VBA editor. And then I might just maximize this so I can concentrate on the code I'm about to write. So let's copy that entire procedure, paste it below, and then call it 1. Yeah. Now instead of this being AR 2 to 6, pardon me, we'll make it equal to, we'll just say A2, and we'll grab the dot current region. That's everything in that specific area. Yeah. Now I'll just get rid of all this. And what I effectively want to do is I want to output the whole thing. So it goes, we might just, let's have a look at the data set. We might just get rid of all this. So I want to take it, and let's say I want to put it somewhere else. Let's say 10. We'll put it in row 10. Yeah. So we can use our knowledge of the upper bound rows and columns to push the data down a few rows. So we'll say square bracket A10, yeah, close square bracket, and we want to resize this range to be the length and width of the array. Yeah, so we say ubound AR, open bracket, AR, comma 1, and then it's just close our bracket, and then comma to ubound, open bracket, AR, comma, AR, comma 2. Yeah. All right, so that's basically, what have I missed out there? Well, nothing. I just haven't finished it off. I just need to say equals AR, yeah? I can't just leave it hanging, yeah? So we go on to the next row and it's sort of all good. Right, okay, so what we want to do is we'll watch what's going on again. So we'll come in here and we'll run the procedure. So F8, oh, not F9, F8, F8, F8. Now, what we've got is an array that, see, it's greater now. It's got more columns, yeah? There's more columns, yeah? So each of them are the same size, yeah? It's now six rows deep, and it's got 5 columns. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then goes down to row 6, yeah? So we're just going to be outputting that range down below. Now it should just drop the raw data. So we'll press F8 and there it drops over there, yeah? Now that's effectively like how you push data around using an array. Now I might just show you one more example. So we'll just copy this and then drop it down. We can turn that entire data set on its head, yeah? We can turn it on its head and we can push these into the rows and all of this into the columns, which sometimes we might require for a specific process. And it's reasonably simple to flick it on its head. Let's copy this procedure. I'll just open this up, get rid of this, and then drop it below. This will be the last one that we do. Now, what we want to do is everything stays the same. It's just we want to change this so it flicks on its head, yeah? So that flips around, and then we want to transpose the data. So it's application.transpose, and then it's AR, yeah? So if I minimize the data set, I might just get rid of this because I'm going to put it straight over the top. Now what I want the data to look like is copy, and I effectively want to do this. Paste special, transpose, values, yeah? So I've got that look and feel. I'll just leave this here as a bit of a sort of an example, yeah? So let's go Alt F11, let's go in the back end, and then let's give this a whirl, all right? So we'll press F8, ambiguous name. I must have 2 of them. Yeah, there we go, I've got 2, damn. Let's just get rid of that one. All right, so let's press F8 and F8. Now it's trapped the current region. Now it's going to push the data down to here, and it's going to do what the transpose in native Excel does. So we'll press F8 and let's have a look at that data set. We've got the sales key and then all the sales keys in one line, the date key finishing in the 25th of October, whether it's a debit or cash payment, the total cost, and the sales amount. So we've basically gone from 0 to hero. We've gone from hard coding information into a one-dimensional array to creating that hard code into a two-dimensional array to then grabbing information in fixed cells into a two-dimensional array and then outputting that and then making that more dynamic so it gets a range that's able to grow and then trapping the upper bounds of that array for the length and the width. Alrighty, well, there we go. So there's more videos in this series around arrays. I've gone into a bit more detail in this one just because it's the starting one, and basically it starts getting weaponized after this. Alright everyone, I hope you have a fantastic day and look forward to seeing you in some other videos. Alright, take care, bye bye.